he's trying to try moves that he's seen in a porno that he's trying to use on you. Assalamu alaikum, another episode of Ask SQ. You ask, I respond. That's how this thing goes. And of course, if you are new to this channel, consider subscribing. We speak about a lot of topics that are certainly taboo, but they always serve as an iman booster. So let's get into this question. What if someone is committing a sin but doesn't even care? They don't feel bad about it, they don't repent, they don't ask Allah for help. Well, if that's the case, how can you and I help this person? A person has to want help. A person has to feel bad, feel remorse in order to seek assistance. Perhaps they don't even consider what they're doing to be incorrect. Perhaps they don't even consider what they're doing to be a sin. You got to remember something. You can't care about a person more than they care about themselves. This is a rule. You can't care about someone's well-being or their akhirah more than they care about their own well-being and their akhirah. If they don't care, you can try to motivate them. You can try to jog that interest in their minds, but at the end of the day, that's between them and Allah. If they're not motivated, well then that's kind of tough to determine. This is a situation with my husband who watches pornography. He justifies it by saying everyone does it. Well, that's a very common thing that a lot of people who do things that are incorrect always say. They justify it by saying other people do it. My students are always telling me that whenever I'm calling them out on something, they're saying, well, why are you stopping me, Mr. SQ? That student's doing it as well. So if you want to behave like a 12-year-old, you can do that as well. But a person needs to man up and start recognizing their own faults and shortcomings. You and I cannot just start pointing out people's faults and shortcomings because they need to realize it themselves. And perhaps your husband doesn't think watching pornography is a sin. Maybe they don't care. Maybe they just enjoy watching pornography and they're not bothered to think or consider if it's a sin or not because they're having too much fun and they get a lot of pleasure from it. But the joke's on me because I knew this about him before I got married. We always tell people to do your research on the person, do research on the character of the person, but if you did this research on the person and you thought that, and if you found out that they were watching pornography, which is actually really rare to find out, this is something that people find out when they live with someone. But if you were lucky enough to find out about that, that is something that is inexcusable. If your husband, your spouse, or someone is watching pornography, you need to get them some help so they can stop. And if they're not willing to receive an intervention to stop, you need to leave them for the sake of Allah, because that's a very sick and dirty, bad habit that they've developed. Now, a lot of times people, when they found out bad habits about a person, they think that they could change them. So a lot of times people will marry someone thinking that, oh, it's okay, after marriage they'll get better. You and I start playing these superhero roles. You and I start thinking we are superheroes. We are not superheroes. We are just weak humans like anyone else. Don't think that it is your and my responsibility to change others. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it a responsibility to change ourselves. Yes, you could try to motivate them. Yes, you could try to stimulate or jog an interest in them. But at the end of the day, every man for themselves. But I thought being married would help. Now, I've already explained this. You try to play the superhero role and you found out that that villain was someone that you really can't defeat. Is there anything I could do to help him see that this is a problem? Well, sort of, right? If you show that this is breaking up your marriage, if you show that this is very unhealthy towards your marriage because he's trying to try moves that he's seen in a porno that he's trying to use on you, and he has these false expectations about you being his wife, that why aren't you behaving like that fantasy that he has in his mind of that pornography that he watches daily? Well, if you show him and prove to him that this is destroying your marriage and how you're not interested in being with someone like this, and you sort of scare him by threatening to maybe perhaps get a separation from him or need some space or time to yourself alone, then perhaps this might be a method that causes him to realize that, man, I need to stop watching some porn. But if you're not doing something like that, then he's just going to think it's okay. I can watch porn and have a wife. It was not really going to satisfy me because my expectations of her are far beyond what she can actually give me, because those are porn artists that are actors and actresses, and they're trained to do such nasty things that a regular normal human being shouldn't be able to do. What is my responsibility to him as his wife, as half his deen. See, a lot of times people get this mistaken. When we're talking about half your deen, that means a person needs to spend time correcting, fulfilling their own deen. It seems like this person has never started that process. They need to figure out their own deen. They need to correct themselves first before you could even try to fill out the other voids. There are bigger voids than a marriage and half the deen happening. This person doesn't seem like he's even started to figure out himself or his deen. So you might need to give him some space so that he could figure out what is his purpose and what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala want from him, because it does not seem like he's interested in figuring that out yet. It does not seem that he thinks that pornography or sins or bad habits are something even important to take care of. That's something that he needs to start. That's a religious and spiritual journey that he needs to begin and get started on. But it doesn't seem like he's ready for that other half yet, but to each his own. Well, that was my advice to the sister. I want to know, what would you advise this sister if they DM'd you? What would you like to tell them? Drop your advice below. And inshallah, if you have no advice, that's okay too. Be mindful of something. They're gonna watch this video. They're gonna read all the comments. So drop a beautiful, kind comment, inshallah. That'll make them feel good. That'll give them some hope. Make a dua for them, inshallah. But make sure that you do not haram police them. You don't give them some harsh suggestion that will actually make them very upset. So be very mindful of this. For a chance for your question to be featured on the show, all you gotta do is DM me on any one of these social media platforms right here. WAYOFLIFESQ. You ask, I respond. Until next time, I'm out.